Good evening, and welcome to the Miracle of Prosperity here on the New Thought Media Network. I'm your host, Reverend Jim Webb. I am the author of the book, The Soul of Prosperity, as well as Prosperity from A to Z, 30 P's to Prosperity, and one of my seasonal books, Create Your Self-Manifesting Vision Board, which is quite popular right now as we're all planning our visions for the next year. On this show, The Miracle of Prosperity, we look at prosperity from all angles. We look at how we can build more professional prosperity, where we have the perfect job with the perfect pay, where we provide a wonderful service in a wonderful way. We also look at relationship prosperity, where our relationships are sources of support and upliftment. We look at spiritual prosperity, where we can experience the peace that passes all understanding. And of course, we look at logistical prosperity, where our lives work more easily and more effortlessly. And financial prosperity, where we have enough resources of all sorts, including support, to more than enough to spare and to share. And we look at ways that we can release any blockages to our prosperity and enhance the consciousness that creates prosperity. So as we move into the holidays, we understand that maintaining a prosperity consciousness can be crucial to getting through the holidays. Although we ideally like to think of the holidays as a time of joy and excitement and all of that, as a minister and a counselor, I've run into many people over the years who I've counseled and to whom I've ministered, for whom the holidays are not such a walk in the park. And I've noticed a number of common holiday stressors. And with my clients, I've worked in many ways to develop coping strategies for moving through the holidays. So I thought we'd do a special show tonight called Hope for the Holidays. How we can have hope through the holidays no matter what we're going through. And here to discuss that with me is my dear friend and one of your favorite guests on this show, Ed Miller, author of Soul Power. And he's
Reverend,
also a coach and a very wise leader. Ed, welcome.
welcome. Thank you so much. I'm always happy to see you and to be part of your show.
It's always such a joy, whether we're doing it together while we're hanging out in Fort Lauderdale or whether we're doing it remotely as we are today. It's
Yep,
always such a pleasure and joy, and the audience enjoys you
I sure
immensely.
will. Very good.
Yes.
Very good.
As I mentioned in the intro, for some, the holidays can create a unique challenge. And many of our people are going to put questions in. And I know that one of our viewers uh, experienced loss this year. And I know that's a common theme for many of our viewers, that at times the holidays may trigger memories of holidays past that are no more. The holidays may trigger lots of stressors and pressures. And so let's talk about some of the ways that we can cope with some of this. So, what is one of the key stressors that you've observed during the holidays?
Well, it's interesting that you talked about the first one. You were talking about loss.
Yes.
I, like many people, my childhood was a wonderland at Christmas time, and my
Yes.
mother and father were creating the perfect Christmas experience and the perfect Christmas morning. And there are times when I can feel the loss of them, and it can trigger feelings of grief or feelings of isolation because I'm remembering the warmth and the excitement that I had as a child with Christmas. I try to create that same enthusiasm and warmth and excitement with my children when for
Yes.
Christmas. But you still have to be aware that when you are triggered uh,
Mm-hmm.
from grief, of
Mm-hmm.
loss, or change,
Mm-hmm.
allow yourself to be okay with that feeling.
Yes.
I think that, I always talk about the most challenging thing is that we feel things and then we judge them.
Yes.
So if you're feeling grief and
Mm-hmm.
you're feeling unsettled because of loss or change in your life, be okay with that. Allow
Yes.
yourself to feel it completely.
Mm-hmm.
Allow yourself not to tell yourself a story about what's going on, but
Mm-hmm.
the triggers and the emotions that are inspired are worthy of your attention, and you're
Yes.
allowing them to be expressed through you.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And if you need to have some space for yourself to do that, absolutely do that. You see, one of the things that many of my clients have run into is the expectation of gaiety, which doesn't create much of a space for their personal process of grieving during the holidays. So, one of the things that I found for to be helpful is to encourage people to create some space for yourself if you are moving through grief, in order that you don't expose yourself to forced gaiety that forces you to be in a space where you are not.
Absolutely. I'm a real advocate of giving myself space when I need it.
Yes.
I have two daughters and a wife, and I've been married for 40 years to my wife, and
Uh-huh.
and so we have a lot of of intensity in our household often at Christmas.
Yes.
There's so many cooks in the kitchen, and
Uh-huh.
I start to feel a little overwhelmed. So what I
Mm-hmm.
do is when I'm seeing my wife is being pushed by my daughters with all the attention they're requiring, I then sometimes just take her and I will go off to the park and sit in
Mm-hmm.
the park and just not complain about the stress we're under because of the holidays, but just be
Mm-hmm.
present in the park. And I'm blessed to live in Florida, so you can go to the park anytime you want. But it's
Yes.
giving yourself the space to just
Yes.
soothe and to
Yes.
self soothe, to
Yes.
be in your heart again.
Yes.
Even remembering family can be
Yes.
self soothing.
Yes. So, in other words, one strategy is to create an escape plan for self soothing.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
escape plan. A lot of people feel as though if they get out the house for a minute, they can feel better. But then they go out the house and they take their list of all the things they want to get accomplished during the Christmas season with them on their escape. You can't do that. When you're
Mm-hmm.
escaping and giving yourself the space of peaceful recuperation, don't bring the list with you. Just be about creating a space, because that's going to rejuvenate you. It's going to get you better prepared for dealing with all the family and all the feelings sometimes of being overwhelmed. And it leaves you more grounded and available to the ones you love.
Wonderful. And you just touched on another stressor, the list. The list. The list can be a stressor, and that stress can wring a lot of the joy out of the season. So, that list of things to do, that list of things to buy, that list of cards to send, that list of tasks to accomplish. And and I have been one to have such a list, and I noticed that it was wringing the joy out of my holiday. So there were a couple of coping strategies that I developed, and one was very practical. If it started stressing me, I stopped doing it. And as a result, I haven't sent a Christmas card in 15 years. When I sold my house, every year I'd buy them, right? I'd buy all these Christmas cards, right? And then I'd put them in boxes, and then I'd put them in my garage. So when I was selling my house, I looked and I had like 10 years worth of Christmas cards in my garage that had never been unboxed or sent. But you know what that was for me, Ed? That was the difference between holiday distress and holiday de-stress.
Yes.
Because if it caused me stress, so I had to eliminate it in order to enjoy the holiday.
Yeah.
What other? Go ahead.
No, I think that, through media and through family, there are a lot of expectations for what Christmas should be. and it
Yes.
should be gifts, and it should be food, and it should be having time together and having special things that you do together. And that becomes overwhelming with just trying to keep up with it all.
Hmm.
Sometimes we need to take 75% of what's on the expected list of things
Hmm.
for the holiday and let them go.
Yes.
Maybe just have time, you know, laughing and being with each other and not having to be and do so much, because
Yes.
that those feelings that we have to be more and do more and have more, and it can be overwhelming, and we need to find
Absolutely.
ways in order to just have peace and presence during the holiday season.
Yes. Now, my mother's best friend has a saying: Jesus is the reason for the season. And so, what I've done is I've translated that saying into its essence. The Christ, the Christos, the unconditional love of God, is the reason for the season.
Yes,
And so, one of the things that I've learned is that stuff is not love.
that's for sure.
Running around is not love. Demonstration is not love. Love is love. So, quite often, some of the most wonderful holiday moments haven't been about stuff or events or running around. Some of the most wonderful holiday moments have just been about being. My best Christmas ever was actually 1994. Me, my partner, and my mother. We just sat there and we had a leisurely day. We watched Gone with the Wind, which none of us had ever seen in our entirety. We opened our presents in a very leisurely fashion. And then about 3 o'clock, we realized that nobody had made dinner or dinner reservations.
Oh dear.
So we wound up in a church basement
Okay.
with homeless people singing at a piano, singing Christmas carols. And it was just beautiful. It didn't involve a lot of stuff. It didn't involve presents for everybody under the sun. It didn't involve a lot of running around. It just involved being with the two people I love the most and spending the time. And there was a lesson in that for everyone. Stuff is not love.
No, it's not.
Love is love.
Yes.
And love is the reason for the season, not stuff.
You know, one of the things my mother was very important to her was generosity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Christmas season is a perfect time to get outside your mind and back into your heart with being generous. You know,
Yes.
generous could be something very similar, like you going to the basement that night and spending time with the homeless. I mean, that was so beautiful. And I've had chances in my life where I got a chance to do things for people who needed it, you know, extend myself. And that was the real essence of love. And I tried to teach that to my children, but they still like a
Yes.
lot of hoopla for Christmas also.
Yes.
I
Yes.
try
Hopeless
to
fun.
be a good example, but you know, these are girls.
Yes. 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 So anytime you feel like you're in the undertow of the hoopla, remember that love is love. And maybe just spend time. Uh, and another thing that taught me that was one time, and use your intuition on this, folks at home. Use your intuition. I'll give you an example. My dear uncle, who was like a surrogate dad to me, one year, my mom, and we knew he was very sick, and it was his last year. Well, we spent most of the time that Christmas day with him at home. And then at around 6 or 7 o'clock, we got up and we started putting on our coats, going out to visit some other people for the Christmas. And he just said to my mother, he said, Anna, which of these is the salt and which of these is the pepper? And what he was really saying, as you might expect, was, this is my last Christmas. Don't leave.
Oh,
And so we just looked at each other and we just took off our coats and we just stayed with my uncle on his last Christmas. And and so folks at home, remember, love is the reason for the season.
it is. And you know, another thing I want to just make clear is a lot of people during Christmas are already financial stress because it's the end of the year.
Yes.
But then what they also feel is though they have to buy so much. This is the season to buy all the gifts that I've wanted to buy my family and friends, all year. So you
Mm-hmm.
find yourself looking at a lot of debt before
Mm-hmm.
January 1. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are feeling they want to buy these things and they want to share their gifts with those, but they also are, a little stressed out and wound up about the debt that they're going into as a result of, all this generosity. I think that generosity should be re-examined. It shouldn't
Yes.
be about things. It should
Mm-hmm.
be about heart. It should be
Yes.
about kindness.
Mm-hmm.
It should be an opportunity to be thoughtful,
Yes.
remember someone else's heart. Because I think
Yes.
those are the components of holiday that are overlooked by all the presents that people are requiring sometimes.
Yes. And you know what? One of the ways to turn that economic distress into de-stress is to look at gifts that are thoughtful, that don't have to be expensive. A little handmade thing that you know will speak to a person's pet peeve. For example, I have a friend who collects frogs, right? So a little handmade little frog tchotchke for that person is so much more meaningful than a $25 gift from Macy's.
I agree.
And that's a way to, and so when you put the thought into it, it's not about the stuff, it's about the thought. Put that thought into it, you can do things more economically. And sometimes the best gift is the gift of time. Ask, what do you need from me? Do you need me to take you here? Do you need me to take you there? Do you want to go here with me? Do you want to go there with me? Sometimes the best gift is not a present, but the best gift is your presence.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also another good gift is photographs.
Mm-hmm.
They cost nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They're meaningful because people get a chance to hold on to pictures of family and togetherness that's meaningful to them through the rest of the year and through the rest of their life. So photographs are always a great way to share your heart with others for Christmas. And there's a lot of applications online that you can send out photographs as gifts,
Mm-hmm.
and it costs almost nothing. And I
Yes.
think that I love a good photograph because
Mm-hmm.
I collect family photographs and they're meaningful.
Yes.
So that's another one that I like. Another thing,
Absolutely.
another stress that I think about is some people are very, very alone during the
Mm-hmm.
holidays. Their family is
Yes.
elsewhere, or they
Mm-hmm.
no longer have family that are alive. So many
Mm-hmm.
of them are very lonely and
Mm-hmm.
very feeling by themselves and isolated. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we've got to have communities of people we can connect with, people who may not have the family, who may be
Yes.
isolated and alone. And we can be generous to these people and kind. It's such a gift to them and the world when we can extend ourselves to people that may not have the family and the friends to be around. But we can go by and visit them sometimes, and that brings us
Absolutely.
joy too.
Absolutely. It brings you joy and it brings them joy.
Yeah.
Now, if you are a viewer and you are in the category of not being with family for the holidays, there are things that you can do as well. You can reach out to old cousins, reach out to old mentors, reach out to old friends, people that you normally wouldn't have the time to reach out to during the course of your year. Take the time during the holidays. Just reach out to them. Maybe you didn't have a chance to do cards or anything. A quick call would do so much. It would do so much for you, and it would do so much for them. So, uh, who can you reach out to? Make a list, make a strategy. Who can you share love with? Make a list, make a strategy. Who can you give thanks to? If someone has been instrumental in your growth either now or at some point in your life, like an old mentor, reach out to them. Give them thanks. You may think you are giving a gift to them, but you're also giving a gift to you.
I love that. I love that. I'm going to encourage that for my daughters and my wife also, put a list together of people who we know that might be isolated and alone.
Yes.
And we make a point out of contacting them and just saying, hi, I was thinking about you. Merry Christmas. You mean a lot to me. That is important work to do.
Yes.
And I think that if I can share that with my daughters and my wife, I think they would enjoy it just as much.
Absolutely. It's called almost like your this just popped into my head. Create your electronic soup kitchen. You know, a soup kitchen experience is a place where compassion is doled out. You think you're going to a church basement to dole out soup, but what you're really doling out is compassion. If you are alone or lonely, create a list of people that you can contact. And that's like a soup kitchen. One of the things that my church does, which is wonderful, is we have a 3 o'clock on Christmas Day. We have an hour where we come together and we do carols and we do sharing and we just wish each other Merry Christmas. And it's absolutely beautiful because there are quite a few members in the chapel who we know are not with their physical families during the holiday. So an electronic soup kitchen like that can be wonderfully uplifting.
That is a great idea. That's a great idea.
Quite frankly, it's one of the highlights of my day. We started it during the pandemic, but we kept it going.
You know, I'm hearing now, what I'm feeling now is that much of the hoopla that we get caught up in for Christmas can be solved in just being present.
Yes.
Being with friends and people that we care about without the expectation of anything being done, without the expectation of being appreciated, just being present with somebody. And I think that's going to be my motto for this Christmas.
Yes. The best Christmas present is your presence. And we're going to discuss this and so much more when we come back here on the New Thought Media Network.
Choice, your creative superpower. We have the power to manifest as we dedicate attention to our thoughts, but often miss opportunity to achieve the greatest good. Your superpower is waiting to be unleashed to unlock a fuller, more rewarding world for all. Join us every Thursday at noon Mountain Time for Choice, your creative superpower with Zoe DeMuro.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Spiritual Center, Kitchener, Om Center for Spiritual Living, La Mesa, Satya Center, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for making New Thought Media Network a place to be. Please come be you. And remember, like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
And we're back here on the Miracle of Prosperity. And Ed, as we were on break, something just occurred to me that it might be helpful for our viewers to understand and embrace a little more. And I'd like for us to discuss it. And that is destigmatizing solitude. And what I mean by that is there are people who may be alone who don't necessarily need to be lonely. But what causes them to be lonely is what you've discussed before, the expectations. There is this, just like there is this false idea of what happiness is supposed to look like,
Yes.
based on television commercials and 60-minute dramas and 30-minute sitcoms. There's this false idea of what holidays are supposed to look like. So if your holiday doesn't look like that, we may unconsciously believe ourselves to be unloved, unlovable, or unworthy.
Or a failure.
Or a failure, yes, absolutely. So there's a stigma attached to some who spend the holidays in solitude. How would you address that?
Well, that's a very cool question. I am very sensitive to people who are feeling that isolation and feeling by themselves. And I can imagine how painful that can be. And they're busy looking at other families and TV and movies, and they watch the Hallmark Channel, and they watch the Lifetime Channel, and they see how happy people are during the Christmas season. And many of them are feeling miserable. Miserable because they feel as though they're not part of this happy feeling that Christmas has to be about. Yes. And I will get back to the point of we've got to allow ourselves to be aware of the story that we're believing what Christmas has to be, and just be free of it and look for positive ways in order to be with others and ourselves. And just be very consciously aware of we don't have to be caught up in old ideas of what family needs to look like or what friendships need to be like. We can see things in a new way and allow ourselves to find peace in the present moment.
Peace.
I'm a real advocate of that. I was also looking at look at ways to release harmful emotions during the season also. Sometimes people are just triggered during the Christmas season and they're they don't know why they're feeling so bad, and they don't know why I'm feeling so lonely and isolated. We've got to do things with the emotional energy that allows us to shake it up a bit. Like you talked about on your Christmas day, go out caroling, go sing it to yourself, put on music and dance around your house. Just do things that are joyous and can shift you out of that lower energy and give you an opportunity to feel good again. And then once you feel good again, then you want to call family, then you want to love others, and you want to be generous again. But when you're caught in that negative, isolated, lonely, just wrong, you can't stay there.
Yes. And let's unpack that metaphysically.
Yes.
What Ed is saying is give yourself permission to release. And some of this you talked about before, Ed, and I'd like to unpack it a little more. You talked about having the emotion, recognizing your emotional state and giving yourself permission to have the emotion because it comes to pass. It doesn't come to stay. Acknowledge the emotion and honor the emotion. When you acknowledge how you're feeling and you honor how you're feeling, you don't judge it. It just is. And it is an emotion that you are moving through and moving from. Then what you just said about dancing or putting on the music or whatever is an aspect of emotional release. Releasing that old stuck, stagnant energy as you release the old stuck, stagnant thoughts. And as you release that, you create a void. And into that void, the light and love of the universe and the source will flow. When you create that void, the light and love of the universe and the void and of the universe flows into that void and fills you with new hope, new energy, a new perspective, because that's what a miracle is, a shift in perspective that begins with a shift in your energy.
Yes, and you've got one thing, laughter.
Yes.
Oh, wow, man, laughter, giggling, silliness.
Mm-hmm.
Fill your heart with stupid stuff.
That's why TBS plays A Christmas Story 24 hours straight.
Yes. But not even so much as Christmas Story as much as just watch a cartoon.
Yes.
Or reminisce on something that made you giggle and share that with someone else. Because I think laughter, you talk about that space. I think laughter is what's in that space too.
Yes. Yes, because laughter is a form of emotional release. Laughter is cathartic release. And in my book, The Soul of Prosperity, I look at a whole chapter on emotional release because it is such a crucial part to healing and allowing more good. That cycling through of energies and emotions. And it can be quite powerful. So
you, Reverend Jim, have this incredible laugh, and it's contagious. So if people just can have a little bit of that laugh with them every day, it'll open up their hearts and create that space for a transformational experience. I love it.
Absolutely. If anybody wants to work with
you to bottle that laugh.
Yes. I'll tell you what the next best thing is.
What's that?
The next best thing is go on YouTube or somewhere and find yourself an online laughter yoga class or watch a laughter yoga class.
I like that.
Savitri Khalsa has been one of our guests here on the New Thought Media Network, and she demonstrated laughter yoga as a way to attain prosperity. And laughter yoga is simply emotional release. Laughter is cathartic release of energy. And that cathartic release of energy creates the void for more joy.
And beware of toxic people during the holidays.
Yes.
Beware.
How would you handle or manage a toxic person?
Wow.
Especially if there's someone you're visiting or staying with.
Or my family.
I wasn't going to say family because my sister might be listening, and I'm not talking about her.
I know you're not. No, I think that we have to constantly always be aware of toxic people, and we have to be aware that we have to protect our hearts from them, because often toxic people are wanting something they're wanting our attention on something negative. They're wanting our agreement and compliance with something that's negative, and we've got to be, willing to shut them down. And, I'm not going to have that discussion with you. This is not something that inspires me. This is not the right time for these kinds of discussions. I'm not into gossip. I don't want to gossip with you. I just want to talk about things that are loving and fun. Those are the ways we should respond to toxic people. And I'm not saying to shut them down as I don't want to hear this crap. Shut them down like, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about something that's more inspiring. That'll shut them down right there. Just telling them, let's talk positive. They don't want to talk positive. Yes. So I think that sometimes our positive, our abundant attitude, our attitude of joy will suppress toxic people because they have nothing. They have no fodder to work with.
Yes. Don't give them material to work with.
Don't give them material to work with.
And, and it's important for us to understand that redeploying that energy is not denying what this person wants to focus on. It's de-emphasizing it, because what you give attention to is what you expand in your world. And if you give attention to that toxic negativity, you will expand it. However, if you de-emphasize it and emphasize what you desire or what brings joy, you will allow more space for that in your life.
Absolutely.
So it's not denial, it's just de-emphasis.
And
Does
we
that
have
make
every
sense?
right. We have every right to do that. We have
Right.
that's a boundary. That's
Yes.
establishing boundaries with how I expect to be treated, how I expect my experience to be. I want my experience to be a positive and loving experience. I don't want to get into a debate about subjects
Yes.
that are toxic or that are
Yes.
problematic.
Yes. And that can be one of the key coping strategies for the holiday season. Be clear in yourself and be clear in your boundaries. And this is extremely important around families because when we go into a family situation, one of the things that we do without even realizing it is we slip back into old family patterns. Because the old family energy and those old family patterns, they've been waiting for 11 and a half months for us to come back and re-engage them.
They've been waiting. They've been in the cut, laying in the cut.
Laying in the cut for 11 and a half months, waiting for us to re-engage them.
I know.
And so what it is important for you to know, beloveds, is that you are different. The world is different. And you have the right to establish differing boundaries based on your difference. So fill yourself with light, fill yourself with love, be clear on who you are now, and be conscious if you are tempted to slip into an old family pattern that no longer fits you, like a size 9 shoe when you've been taking yoga and your shoe size is now 11 because your toes got uncurled. That old pattern doesn't fit you anymore, right?
Yes.
So there you go. Any thoughts on any of that, Mr. A?
Well, everything you're saying is triggering me because I've been learning how to cope with my family over the last 40 years of my marriage.
Yes.
It's been a process.
Yes.
I've had to make choices to be positive. I've had to make choices to not dwell into drama and problematic thinking and
Yes.
leave things light and leave
Yes.
things positive and inspirational for family and friends, and not allow their problematic thinking to affect me at all. And that's kept me strong and open and available for everybody during the holidays. And that's my goal now.
Yes.
I think when I was in my daddy age, when I was the daddy, and I had to buy toys and put together toys, and I think I was so conscious of pleasing my children that it wasn't fun for me. I was just trying to make sure they had enough toys and they liked the toys they got, and I now I don't have to buy toys anymore. Thank you.
Yes.
And I now am about getting, as we talked about earlier, buying or getting meaningful gifts that are gestures.
Yes.
My daughter sent me, her birthday party was yesterday, and she sent me a whole bunch of pictures of her and I at the birthday party together. And that meant so much to me. We now have pictures of me and my daughter together, as she's an adult now, and they feel so good to have her, appreciating me and me being part of her life, and all that kind of stuff is much more important than all the toys and the gifts and the have-tos and the going here and going there. Now it's just about being present with the ones that I love.
Yes. And one other strategy for gifting that I'd like to put on the table as a coping strategy for the holidays is gift with an open palm. What do I mean when I say gift with an open palm? What do I mean is quite often we give gifts with strings attached because we think the gift is love. Now remember that gift is not love. Love is love.
Yes.
So when we give a gift, there is often an unconscious part of us that thinks, my well-being depends on whether they like the gift or not, whether they appreciate the gift or not, whether they reciprocate the gift or not. And that creates false expectations, disappointment, resentments, and triggers imbalances in relationships.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing is you're gifting with strings attached versus gifting with an open palm.
Yeah, I love that.
So what if you were to gift not to get something in return, not for someone to love you, but what if you were to fill yourself with such love that you gifted from that overflow instead of gifting from obligation, instead of gifting from habit, or instead of gifting by rote?
No, that's
What if
perfect.
you
Yeah.
gifted with an open palm and you filled yourself up with so much love that you gifted with an overflow of that love? What you'd do is you'd create a totally different dynamic. You'd create the dynamic of sending out love, creating a void that love could fill. And you would have less and less attachment to how they responded to the gift.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't about them. It was about your love.
Absolutely.
Expressing and expanding. So one of the things that we can do is gift with an open palm.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. So what we've been discussing are a number of different coping strategies for having hope for the holidays, for maintaining our prosperity consciousness, our well-being, and sometimes even our sanity during the holidays. And we're going to come back and discuss a little more and share with you some surprises after the break here on the New Thought Media Network.
New Thought Media Network is on the rise. We're looking to grow with you. Do you have technical media experience? Or perhaps a desire to learn? Are you willing to volunteer your precious time and attention? We share this message to benefit all. If you possess a computer with a camera and a microphone, we will share our knowledge with you. Behind the scenes or being the star, let us bless our one. Contact us at info@ntmedia.org.
And we're back here on the Miracle of Prosperity. So Ed, what final guidance would you offer to our viewers about having hope for the holidays?
Well, I want to offer my favorite tool because I think it's a powerful tool that will help us during any moment of stress or anxiety or overwhelm, and that's the Ho'oponopono. And the Ho'oponopono is a real simple mantra that we recite to ourselves, not to any problem, not to anybody. And the mantra is, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me and thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me and thank you. As we relate that mantra to ourselves in a very interesting, intimate, and new way, it allows us to shift into a new way of seeing things almost instantaneously with the mantra. So, I mean, I'm really, I want to leave you guys with that thought. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me and thank you. And that relationship is with ourselves, not with anyone else in the world. And allow that to resonate in your soul for this Christmas holiday. I think it could be very nurturing and rewarding for anybody that's allowing themselves to commit to that relationship.
Yes, I love that. I love Ho'oponopono. And sometimes I miracleize it a little bit, because what I do with it when I apply it is I say, I love you. And I broaden that to, I am allowing myself to be in the flow and to be aware of love's presence.
I love that.
The I'm sorry part, so as not to trigger guilt or to impose guilt, I work with it in a way as to say, lo siento, I feel. I feel this, I feel that, I feel this, I feel that.
Yes.
Acknowledging feelings. And then I thank you. And then thank you is just gratefulness for the love of the universe that has been channeled through due to Ho'oponopono.
Thank you for the awareness of self.
Yes.
Thank you for that awareness. Yes. And that can shift you right out of a problematic mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that phrase, problematic mind. How we can shift from the problematic mind to the miracle mind, from the mind of fear and doubt and shame, and we can shift to the mind of love and joy and hope and peace. And Ho'oponopono can help us shift our minds. Ed, is an expert in Ho'oponopono. He teaches that among many other things. So what are you up to these days?
Well, that's what I wanted to share with you. I'm going to be doing a book club. I've been asked to do a book club for my book. And I've never done a book club before, but I have a group of people that want to, go through the book chapter by chapter and find the lessons that are there. And it's chock full of love and lessons. So if I'd like to, next time we get a chance to meet, I'd like to invite your viewers to maybe be part of this book club. And
invite them now. What's your website?
Well, the website, I'm going to announce it on the website. The website is soultransync.com. Again, it's soultransync.com. On the website, I will give you information on how to participate in this book club. But I know it's going to be rewarding. The book, I think, is just packed full of opportunities to grow and heal and evolve. The book, again, is Soul Power, Uncovering and Embracing Soul Power. And I think it's a great tool for allowing ourselves to evolve and heal on a number of levels.
Yes, I love your book. I refer to it regularly, and it's a powerful tool. So that's what you're up to these days.
Yeah, what about you? What are you up to? You only got a few more weeks to the end of the year.
Yes, so I'm up to selling my book. No, no. The Soul of Prosperity, I found, is an excellent Christmas present, because what you're doing is you're giving people the gift of prosperity. The Soul of Prosperity is a roadmap that people can use to develop not only a prosperity consciousness, but also to develop the practices of prosperity that they can implement to bring prosperity into any and every aspect of their lives. It's available on Amazon.com, and if you order it in the next few days, it'll definitely be here by Christmas, give you plenty of time to wrap it, ship it, or you could have it shipped to your loved one and have Amazon wrap it. So it's available on Amazon.com, The Soul of Prosperity.
I've read the book, and I agree with you. The book is a great gift for anyone, young person, somebody that's struggling at this time. Anybody could get value out of the lessons that are presented in that gift. So yeah, I think it's a perfect gift to give out.
Yes. So that's what I'm working on. And I am so thankful for you for coming onto the show tonight to share with our viewers many coping strategies to maintain their prosperity consciousness during the holidays. You've been a wonderful guest, as always, here on the New Thought Media Network. Thank you to our viewers. Everyone have a wonderful night, and I wish you hope for the holidays. Good night.